Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Acid Sabbath Fellowship in St. Paul, Minnesota. We don't meet right now until things change with COVID-19, but I'm still recording videos, and today's video is on timing, understanding the timing of Armageddon and Gog and what we should be watching for, and the timing of what's going on in the world so that you can see that these are just precursor signs. And so let's just get into it and see what's going on and what's triggering this. So is Gog from Magog that war? And by the way, that's the Hebrew way of saying it's not Gog, it's Gog. Gog from Magog, anyway, that's how you would say it in Hebrew. So right now you've got crows descending all over the place. Here it is in Seattle and other places, and they're called a murder of crows, which is interesting. And they eat carrion. So very, very interesting. Does that mean that the war where Gog from Magog and all of his military people are eaten by these crows, is that what's happening right now? Are we getting ready for that final war? No, we're a long ways away. So let's look at the Bible and try not to twist it. Let's look at prophecy and understand it better. And let's look at the news and try not to believe in fake news. So this is my chart of the birth pangs that occur before you go into tribulation, which is the first 3.5 years. Then the Great Tribulation is the last 3.5 years. The seals open up during this birth pang time frame, and I believe that we're entering into seal 4. And that the other seals, I'm going to be recording a video shortly on seal 3, just so you can see all the signs going on. Right, it's starting to really build up, people. So if you wanted to prep and buy some food to have on hand, I would recommend it. So then martyrdom comes after that. Then the two witnesses show up during seal 6, during the tail end of that. And then we move into seal 7, which would be that half an hour of silence in heaven. And then the trumpets are opened up via seal 7. And so the first 4 are basically, they're cosmologically explainable. They're organic in many ways. That's why I made them green in this picture here. The first 4 of the trumpets are greenish in terms of I could explain them naturally. The last 3 are woes, and especially that 5th trumpet. Oh my, that's a frightening one. Then as the 7th trump opens up, that would release the 7 bowls. And so at the tail end, that's when you're going to have the big war of Armageddon, and Gog from Magog would show up and fight them. The Antichrist, you wouldn't really know who he is or what he was doing until about that blue arrow there. When the 2 witnesses leave, he shows up. Now, he is alive right now, but you wouldn't really know it. And so once again, the 3 woes plus the 7 bowls equals 10. So that's a lot like Egypt. So when you see things going on right now, and you see all these signs occurring, and you see, say, hornets attacking, or you see infestations of other critters, or plagues for that matter too, these are all precursor signs, but that doesn't mean that it's actually that sign itself. The 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls all open and pour out judgment before Gog from Magog occurs. So the 4th seal is what's listed off to the side here, which is that green seal, the 4th one, and its name is death, Thanatos, and it has this long sword, the Ramphea, and then it brings Limo, which would be hunger, famine, and then death, Thanatos, its name is that, and it also brings death to 1/4, 1.9444 billion people of the earth, and then the beast, the Therion. Now, we are seeing a lot of animal attacks right now. If I went back to the Old Testament and cited the animal attacks, it's 99.9% going to be animals. Just literally like a lion coming and eating you, which happened in 1 Kings 13, which is very interesting. And so God warns the Israelites that they shouldn't, move out into warfare too quickly, because otherwise they'll kill off the people that are in those areas, and then animals will come back and attack them because they aren't managing the animals properly. So when you see these locusts and the hornets and other things like that, there are other signs, but it doesn't mean Gog Magog, okay? And so Therion, just so you're aware too, that last word, Therion, the beast, the wild beast of the earth, it could mean literal animal attacks, like the hornets stinging you, or like the locusts driving you crazy, or it could be a plague. It could be lower forms of animal life in that case, but also Therion is used to describe the Antichrist, the false prophet, living animals, or biological warfare. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And so let's discuss the timing and the animal attacks and go through it one more time just so you can see it one more time. So it's the Ramphea sword, upper right-hand side, the Lemo, which would be drought, death is Thanatos, and then whatever it ends up being, either it could be animal attacks, or it could be COVID-19. I think it's going to have to be something more than COVID-19 because it's not killing enough people to be 1.9444444 billion deaths. It's just not. So that would be, we're getting to the number right now as of Passover of 2020. We're probably at about 7.77777 billion people. So that's why the numbers are getting quite interesting. So yes, the locust plagues are going to be 10 times worse now, 20 times larger than in 2019. Much worse, much worse. So Africa, the Horn of Africa is going to be decimated this year. Somalia and Ethiopia and other areas like that, Kenya, they'll be decimated this year. And it's about 70 years since this happened the last time. So yes, the locusts are the 8th plague. Does that mean that we're going to go through a darkness plague? Yeah, I think so, because it is listed in Amos 5 and other places where it will be a dark day of the Lord. So there will be another time of darkness, and then there might be a death of a firstborn. You never know. Tajikistan is invaded by a murder of crows. And so it's just interesting. And then there's roosts over Fort Cobb, Oklahoma, too. 2 million crows. They generally hang out in places that they like, but they also hang out in places of death. So let's just notice that, okay? So Wuhan, China. The crow is an eater of carrion. The elderly say crows seem to anticipate death because they can smell it, even before a person dies. In other words, they can smell the odor of a dying person. But we humans cannot. They will then circle around this person, waiting for him to die. This is why in Chinese culture, crows are considered inauspicious and are always linked with death. So we have these giant flocks murders of crows and huge mosquitoes. I mean, there are names and there are reasons for these names. And so the murder of crows, people are dying and the crows show up and the other birds that eat carrion. So they're invading the skies and cities around the coronavirus hotspot. So this is another article. This is a video of all these crows over Wuhan and murders of crows. And so the reports of dead bodies and local folklore about the bird, their appearance, and the causing of a sense of dread for those who see the hordes of feathered beasts. So that is the sign of Gog Magog, the birds. And I'll show you that. So first, let's show you Ezekiel 39, which shows the first sign of it, and then we'll show you Revelation 19 that shows it. So, but thou, son of man, thus saith the Lord God, speak unto the birds of every sort, and unto every beast of the field, assemble yourselves, come together, and come gather yourselves on every side to my feast. And that's zavak in the Hebrew, which is usually peace, and peace will come after this. That I do prepare for you even a great zavak feast, a peace feast upon the mountains of Israel, that ye may eat flesh and drink blood. The flesh of the mighty shall you eat, and the blood of the princes of the earth shall you drink. Lambs, goats, rams, bullocks, fatlings of Bashan, are they all of them? And ye shall eat fat till ye be full, and drink blood till ye be drunken of my zavak, my feast, which I shall have prepared for you. So that's Ezekiel 39. That is the tail end, people. That is the last of the last of the last. As Gog attacks Israel in this Armageddon area, and he's defeated. So here's the other version of this in Revelation 19. Then I saw an angel startling. I'm sorry, I can't see it behind my timer here, of the sun, and cried out with a loud voice to all the birds that fly about in mid-heaven, come gather together for the great feast. It doesn't say zavak in the Greek, but it is similar. It's a peace feast God is giving to eat the flesh of kings, the flesh of generals, the flesh of important men, the flesh of horses and the riders, and the flesh of all kinds of people, free and slave, small and great. Same thing. Ezekiel 39, Revelation 19. That is when Yeshua is returning, Revelation 19. So that is that final moment, the last seconds, milliseconds, before the end of the Great Tribulation. continuing on, and I want to give you what the rules are for these Zavak Shelamim, these peaceful feast festival offerings and the regulations. So we're going back to Leviticus 7, and of it he shall present one out of each offering for a gift unto the Lord. It shall be the priest that dasheth the blood at the peace offerings against the altar, and the flesh of the sacrifice of this peace offerings for thanksgiving, so it's a tadah, shall be eaten on the day of his offering. He shall not leave any of it until the morning. So when the birds eat this peace offering, they have to eat it that day. Nothing's going to be left over. It'll be buried. But if the sacrifice of his offering be a vow or free will offering, it shall be eaten on the day that he offers the sacrifice, and on the morrow which remaineth may be eaten. But it's not that. It's going to be a zavak shalamim, and a tadah one, which is thanksgiving. And that which remaineth of the flesh of the sacrifice on the third day shall be burnt with fire. Okay, interesting. And if any of the flesh of the sacrifice of his peace offerings be at all eaten on the third day, it shall not be accepted, neither shall it be imputed unto him that offereth it, and shall be an abhorred thing, and that soul that eateth of it shall bear his iniquity, and the flesh that touches any unclean thing shall not be eaten, and shall be burnt with fire. Interesting. And as for the flesh, everyone that is clean may eat thereof. But what I'll show you is that it's going to be buried in part. So we're going to show you another verse here. So, and this is important because I want you to see that Gog is buried. Kings are always buried. And this is from Chronicles, and this is from a friend. But the bones, not allowed to burn the bones of kings. But again, there is this, and two witnesses of this case. 2 Kings 23:20. He put to death all the priests of those high places on the altars there, and then burned human bones on them. Finally, he returned to Jerusalem. Then 2 Chronicles 34:5. He burned the bones of the priests on their altars, thus cleansing Yehuda and Jerusalem. The false prophet's bones were burned up upon Yeshua's return. He is a consuming fire. So basically, we're going to show you that if you're a prophet, you can be burned, or the Antichrist, you can be burned, but not a king, not a king. On that day, I will give to Gog for burial in Israel the valley of the travelers, east of the sea. I will block the travelers, for their Gog and all his multitude will be buried. It will be called the valley of Haman Gog. And for 7 months, the house of Israel will be burying them in order to cleanse the land. And so they start out during that time frame after the birds eat them, and then they bury them for 7 months. Think about that, okay? And all the people of the land will bury them, and it will bring them renown on the day that I show my glory, declares the Lord God. They will set apart men to travel through the land regularly and bury those travelers remaining on the face of the land so as to cleanse it. At the end of 7 months, the second witness of that, they will make their search. Ezekiel 39. It's very interesting. So keep that in mind. The Antichrist is not Gog. The Antichrist is burned. The false prophet is burned. Gog is buried. Eaten first, then buried. Okay? Very interesting. So let's go to Revelation 19 again. But the beast that was taken captive, and with it the false prophet, who in its presence had done the miracles which he had used to deceive those who had received the mark of the beast, and those who had worshipped his image, the beast and the false prophet were both thrown alive into the lake of fire that burns. They're going to be burnt, okay? The rest were killed with the sword that goes out of the mouth of the rider of the horse, and all the birds gorged themselves on their flesh. Do you see the comparison there? Okay, so that's Revelation 19 again. So keep in mind, Gog is buried. The Antichrist is burned with the false prophet. When the 1,000 years are done, the adversary will be set free from his prison, and then go out to deceive the nations in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for the battle. Their number is countless as the sand on the seashore, and this is after the 1,000 years, yes. And they shall come up over the breadth of the land and surrounded the camp of God's people and the city he loves, and the fire came down from heaven and consumed them, burnt again. The adversary who had deceived them was hurled into the lake of fire, so that's Satan, where the beast and the false prophet were. They were already there, and they will be tormented day and night forever and forever. So there's Gog and Magog 1 and Gog and Magog 2. Okay? And I don't understand how he's burned, or eaten rather, then buried, and then he pops back up again 1,000 years later. Maybe it's the spirit of Gog. I don't know. So when you see these hornets and other animal attacks right now, and you see crows, murders of crows everywhere, this is just another sign. This is an interesting sign because this is actually very similar to the fifth trumpet, which is beasts that come along and sting you and it hurts for 5 months, but you don't die, which is weird. And these Asian hornets can kill with a single sting, and they're starting to pop up. And it's interesting that they're Asian hornets. So they can kill up to 50 honeybees a day, which is staggering and horrible. So this is going to be horrific. Fortunately, I'm in the northern states. I'm up in Minnesota, and it won't affect us as much. They'll probably freeze out. But these little hornets, horrible, horrible. Just horrible. So keep in mind, just so you know the timing, Seal 1 is already open to the west. Seal 2 is already open. Seal 3, I'll give you more proof when I record that video that it has been opened. And then Seal 4 is yet to open, but we're seeing signs of it right now. COVID-19 is part of it. Probably not the fulfillment because you need 1.94444 billion to die. But we'll also see Comet Atlas showing up, which is a green comet, which will be interesting. Then Seal 5, then Seal 6. And then we're all done with the video. So thank you very much for your time.